Good morning. It's now 11 o'clock, and I'm going to call the Lubbock Electric Utility Board to order, and there is a quorum. Has there any public comment today? There is none. We like you in your light blue, Matt. Are there any comments from board members related to topics discussed below or on any future agenda items? If not, we will then go into executive session, and we're glad to have Mr. Collins and Ms. Rick Martinez here. We're now going to recess it to, and who else is here? Oh my, well, he's here all the time. Yeah. He's supposed to be here. We got to get him. We have him up closer so we can watch him. We are now going to recess into executive session in accordance with 1 VTCA Government Code 551.086 and 552.133 on competitive matters of LP&L. 2 VTCA Government Code 551.071 seeking advice of and consultation with LP&L's attorneys on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with Chapter 551 of the Government Code, and seeking advice of its attorneys about pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offers. And 3 VTCA Government Code 551.074 to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, and or duties of a public officer or employee, Electric Utility Board, Director of the Utilities, Chief Administrative Officer, and General Counsel. It's now, what time, gentlemen? 11:02 about. So we'll go, and we're going to the second floor. Is that correct? Okay. I'll give Solomon and Gonzalo just a couple more minutes. They were still chowing down. Here they come. There you are. Is Solomon not far behind? I'm not sure. Did you lose him on the way? Yeah. He's having dessert twice. We've got some important folks in the audience, so I'm going to go ahead at 12:11 and call the Electric Utility Board back to order. And the first order of business is item 8 on the agenda, to approve the minutes of the regular Utility Board meeting held on September 17th and the special Utility Board and Financial Review Committee that we held on October 1st. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Dr. Ryan, and a second by Mr. Wilson. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The motion carries 8-0. Number 9, Joel, is that you, or are you trying to get the microphone to work?
Both. We have a special recognition today that we want to do.
Yeah, are you going to go ahead and do the lineman now?
Yes,
yeah, let's move that agenda item 11. We can move that up.
And kind of like the Dallas Cowboys this weekend, I'm going to punt and hand it over to Blair. What?
Oh. Okay, Blair, we're on, with the board's permission, we're on item number 11.
Item number 11. So I'm going to take a minute and say a few things about the group of people sitting behind me. It's really an honor to introduce some of these folks. They're dedicated. They're hardworking. Some of the hardest working folks that I've.
Sorry, Blair.
Nope, no problem. I can talk and.
Not working.
I can.
Dan's there.
Let me see if is that the only presentation in there? Oops, sorry. So it really is a pleasure to work with these folks. They're dedicated, they're hardworking. I think I've said that They're always the first to volunteer. They, they represent the city of Lubbock. They represent LPNL to the nth degree. I really can't say enough about them. They're passionate about what they do. They, yep, there we go. They're passionate about what they do. They enjoy what they do, and that shows in everything that every interaction that I have with them. So to start it off, we've got a couple of groups here behind us. One of them I'll bring up is the rodeo group. Come on up. Lineman rodeo is a group. Let's stand over. There's a couple of them that did.
Chase, get back with the dream.
You got to crowd in like you like each other.
So I'm going to read their names off. Their coach is Eric Garza, standing right here. Our journey team, Chase Jackson, Matthew Burns, Bryce Chapa. Three guys on the end over here. We had some apprentices, Julian Flores, Agapito Valero, Wesley Butler, and Paul Evans. Judges, we have to send judges to these interactions as well. Jerry Prestridge, Jorge Romo, Britton Garza, and Stephen Hayden. Now, some of the trophies that we have displayed up here are from the team. They brought home a few trophies and a little bit of medal this year. Third place out of 49 teams in pole climbing. One of our journey team, 6th place overall out of 18 municipalities. So I don't want to read everything up here. There's one thing I do want to read, though, is we had a young man, his dad's name's Anthony Reynolds, son Easton, he's up here with us as well. He was entered into the youth rodeo and won 1st place. So Easton came away with a trophy and a buckle. So 2 trophies.
He won his division, he won overall, and he got a buckle. So he won 2.
2 trophies and a buckle. So potential employee there. If we can keep it in the family. I'd like to say thanks to these gentlemen for representing LPNL.
Thank you.
Some of the pictures that were taken during the rodeo. Next group of folks. Next group. We've had a couple of requests for mutual aid. First one was Hurricane Helena. We responded to Gainesville, Florida. We had 15 folks. How many we got here? 3, 6, 9, 12, 13? Okay, 14. We got 14 here. I can't count. Brady Anderson's the only person missing today. That's because he volunteered for the 2nd round, and he's still in Florida. Brady Anderson, Jerry Prestridge, Brad Harrison, Bryce Chapa, Austin Connolly, Mason Kane, Austin Husky, Tanner Arthur, Matthew Burns, Waylon Goodson, Britton Garza, Dusty Rice, Frank Hernandez, Josh Holliday, and Jose Chacon. They were asked on September 24th to travel to Gainesville. Took them 2 days to get there. They rode the hurricane out. This was unusual. They stayed in Gainesville, Florida when the hurricane hit. On the 26th, began work on the 27th and worked 7 straight days. And traveled 3 days back. So, a couple of the pictures, I mean, I don't know which one of you is. See the picture on the right-hand side? Somebody stretched out kind of horizontal there in the trees. So, that's what linemen are trained to do. And that's what they do best. You know, some of the pictures, it was similar to being in a jungle, working on an electric line. So, they don't have any trophies to show, but congratulations to these gentlemen that volunteered.
While Olivia takes a picture, I want each of you to know what not only great representatives of Lubbock you are and LPNL, but patriots for this country that would leave and go to weather the storm and go do that work. So thank you for who you are. You're the salt of the earth, and we appreciate you, and we're so proud of you.
Next little bit is Hurricane Milton. This crew is not here since they are still in Florida. Before the first crew ever got back, Gainesville had called and said, "We want you back." So October the 6th, the day of the picnic, is the day that they arrived back. October 7th is the day that the next crew left. And they've been there working 6 days, 2 days travel, a day to ride the hurricane out, and started work after that. That crew originally was assigned to Gainesville, Florida for 1 day, and then Bartow the next 5 days. So they're still in Bartow. You know, just some of the pictures that they send back. It's more of a rural area, not quite the jungle, but they do have their challenges.
How do they do 16-hour days? I've never heard of that. Is that standard when you go?
That is standard.
Do they take breaks?
They do every once in a while. They'll break to eat. They'll break between jobs. They start at 6 in the morning, end at 10 at night. Is that the standard? 6 in the morning to 10 at night. Get as many people on as they can, as fast as they can, safely as they can.
Well, they really are American heroes. I hope you know that, and you're very appreciated. Blair, you got a great group of fellows.
Yes, it's a privilege. Thank you.
There's food upstairs, so thank you
Yeah.
again for your service and for being the gentleman you are. See you guys.
The 16-hour day thing was born years ago because we were having people turn in various levels of time that they're working, that they're out in the storms, and we couldn't keep up with it. So we all just kind of got together as an industry and said, we're just going to standardize that so we know exactly what we're going to pay everybody and they know what to expect coming out of it. So when they hit 16 hours, they stop and go to bed. So it just makes it a lot easier from the logistics and management of the process.
Did you ever do one of those as a lineman?
Mm-hmm.
Did you go
Did a couple.
to a storm?
I did Hurricane Alicia down on the Texas Gulf Coast back in '83.
What's the hardest part when you do that? Just being unfamiliar territory, or?
Yeah, so we were driving down from Louisville down to Texas City to go to work, and we had to stop and put gas in one of our trucks, our pickups, because all the gas stations were closed and whatnot. So we're just pouring gas into the truck, and I'm standing on a fire ant bed. I didn't know there was such a thing as fire ants at that time. So, yeah, it's just the unknowns, the varmints, the critters. You know, you're going to go into somebody's backyard and they're not expecting to see you there. There's altercations. There's all kinds of things that, in addition to just having to do hard work and long days. Try it again. There we go. Thank you. We have an upcoming strategic retreat that we're going to be holding in February. The date is TBD and the location as well. So, but we'll get back with you all as we learn more about that. And I would like to just kind of see your interest in maybe doing the strategic retreat and the board meeting all at the same time. And I say that because we have a strategic plan for the next 5 years that's going to be guiding us. It's a living plan, and we can make changes to it as we need to. But if you guys want to go ahead and do a board meeting at the same time, I'm thinking we spend an hour and a half to 2 hours on the strategy piece of it, and then go right into the board meeting before or after. So that's a topic that we can carry, Madam Chair. I don't know, we don't need a
Everybody
decision.
okay making that a combination? Yes, I'm good. Everybody's good with that?
Okay, good deal, thank you. Easy enough. So, as I said, our 5-year strategic plan, it's a living document. It is pretty solid, and you're going to hear from Blair some of the things that are already ongoing within that plan. But I want to encourage the board to think broadly about LP&L, even including our own governance. We've essentially jettisoned most of our risk, probably about 2/3, by not having purchase power and by not having to purchase fuel for our generators anymore. That's inherently where the largest amount of risk in our industry is. So as we're looking forward, we want to look at the decisions we need to make based on the organization that we are today and our new peer group with the TDUs, the Transmission Distribution Utilities, which is Oncor, CenterPoint, TNMP, and AEP. That's the group that we're in league with right now. So you hear me talk about business sustainability, and my definition of that is we make the decisions today, the right decisions today, they're going to drive our prospects for success 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or more. This is a long-term business that we're operating in. We make investments that last decades. We're not looking for near-term type stuff. So as we go through strategy discussions and whatnot, I want you to look beyond where we are right now today. And I'll give you an example. Today we lose Mr. Odom, unfortunately. You know, you're not really going anywhere. You just can't serve any longer, right? You're termed out. So, and we do certainly appreciate. That's why we're all dressed like this too, by the way. In 2 years, our board chair is termed out. And then 3 years after that, 3 more principals, Dr. Field, Mr. Davis, Mr. Schultz, are termed out. And so in 3 years' time, we're going to have a very vastly different looking board. And that happens, and that's part of it. And it's quite possible you're going to have a whole lot different looking staff as well. And so I wanted to make sure that we're doing the things today to set that future group up for success. And so we're going to be bringing you policies and procedures and different things that we want to take a look at. And I would ask the board to consider a couple of things. One thing, we need to formalize the committees that we've got and go ahead and start setting firm dates for meetings, and then meet if you need to, but don't if you don't, type deal. But like the Finance Review Committee, Mr. Wilson's the chair of, we will probably set firm dates for those because we have key things that we need to get before you every single year. And so we'll probably for sure meet 4 times a year in a situation like that. But I would like to pose that we bring the board back a recommendation for meeting dates for the different committees. And then one of the things I've heard from the board members very recently is we want to get back to using committees for committees. And so if it should not really be an extension of board meetings is what I heard kind of commonly. And so if we can have that limitation put in, then I think that would get us back on track with that. So it's an item for discussion, and I'll hang there for a second if any further discussion needs to be had. Okay. So in a couple of our meetings, a notion of actually going ahead and canceling the December meeting came up. And we're fine with that. I think that we can make that work and give everybody a holiday break because the time commitment that you all are putting into this is huge. And we want to recognize that and honor it. However, in order to do that, we need to change the bylaws because what we call the bylaws, the board policy and rules. So right now the rule says thou shalt meet once a month, and so we do. So with the board's blessing, I would volunteer to have me and Kelly just take a look at the rules to simplify that so that we could make that happen. And then come November, we would vote on that policy change, the board would, and then we could make the decision on what to do in December.
Can we not do that at the strategic planning meeting?
Well, that's going to be after. The strategic planning is going to be in February.
Right, but we can talk about that because bylaws are a board decision.
Yes, yes, absolutely, we can.
Okay.
And I was going to ask that we actually do that. So my second ask is that we look at forming a policy committee of the board that does that very thing. We
Right,
got.
right, the board can make those recommendations.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah, that's what we want. So with the policy committee, it's not just the board and bylaws that we want to go through. There's policies that we have in place that we're amending and correcting that we probably should be running by the board as well. Because of the governance structure that we have, it would be the right thing to do. These are administrative type policies, and for example, we have a mutual aid policy. It governs things like conduct, but also compensation for the people that go on these events. We have a grievance policy that is an offshoot of the cities because we operate just a little bit differently. So there's just some nuanced differences in that one, but mostly we adhere to what the city has. And then we have our own policy on purchasing. So we want to take a look at that as well. So we're trying to firm these up. And all of this fits into my goal of creating the proper controls so that when we're looking 5 years down the road, whoever succeeds all of this that we're doing has a very well laid out blueprint of how everything is supposed to work, and that the board has a way to hold staff, us, accountable for what it is that we're doing. So I think a policy committee from a board level perspective could be very helpful for us going forward. Don't necessarily need a vote on that right now today. If you guys are okay, we would.
We'll take that under advisement.
Okay, very good. So that's really it I had on the strategy piece of it. We will, I'm sorry. If we do, Madam Chair, if we do cancel the December meeting.
That's premature to be making that decision right now.
Okay. Are you not wanting us to look at the bylaws and make adjustments?
I think we need to have a board committee do that.
Okay. My only reason for bringing this up at all is we had to make a vote on that in November in order to get the policies changed and passed. We're just kind of on a time constraint. So that's really why I'm bringing it up. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Very good. Well, then that brings me to the conclusion of that discussion. We are looking to have an FRC meeting on the 18th of November. Mr. Wilson, Mr. Schultz, and then, Madam Chair, we're one person down on that committee.
Right, I'll do that appointment because Mr. Wilson will be leaving. So
Right.
the 18th for those of you that are on finance.
Yeah. Okay. That is it for me. So that brings
Thank you.
us to the next.
Thank you, Mr.
Honor.
Ivy.
Thank you.
For
Suck in. Oh, there we go.
wrong color, but it works.
Y'all gonna hold hands or anything? All right, I'll read the resolution. What a great day it is, but this resolution is, the length of it is indicative of your service and efforts, Mr. Odom, but whereas Dan Odom was appointed to the Lubbock Power and Light, LP&L, Electrical Utility Board, EUB, in November 2016 during a time of major transition and achieved the maximum service term of 4 two-year terms. Whereas Dan Wilson served in the role of Finance Committee Chairman from 2016 until his ascension to the Electric Utility Board Chair in January of 2019, where he served until 2022. Whereas Dan Odom served the board when the ERCOT announcement was still in its infancy, with major decisions and hurdles yet to come. As a board member, Dan strongly supported the effort and was part of many difficult decisions necessary to move the project forward. Whereas Dan Odom dedicated countless hours representing LP&L in Lubbock and Austin as the utility received all the important first approval by the Public Utility Commission in March of 2018, allowing work to build the connecting transmission lines and infrastructure to ERCOT. Whereas the chair of the Finance Committee, Dan Odom, oversaw the implementation of important changes to LP&L's rate structure that allowed the utility to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in necessary infrastructure and technology improvements, which are now vital to LP&L's current operations. Whereas the chair of the EUB, Dan Odom's leadership allowed LP&L to hold the line on rates for customers to build 160 miles of transmission line, to upgrade 12 substations, to build 3 new substations, to negotiate a beneficial termination of a large power contract that would have barred LP&L's full entry under ERCOT, and to achieve the distinction of being the largest migration of electrical load in ERCOT history. Whereas Dan Odom oversaw the historic vote to move into retail competition in the ERCOT market. Whereas Dan always led by example when it came to fashion during his tenure, albeit his own unique example, and blazed a path for all who to seek to wear pastels year-round. Whereas Dan Odom showed his commitment to service by selfishly refusing to adhere to normal hair length and demonstrated immense bravery with his sporting of a mustache from a bygone era. Whereas a member of the EUB and chair of the board, Dan Odom displayed consistent, clear leadership as LP&L worked through more large projects in an 8-year period than most utilities face in 2 decades of work. Through his leadership, LP&L has achieved more than most expected and grew as an organization. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Electric Utility Board, the City of Lubbock, that the Electric Utility Board hereby express its gratitude to Dan Odom for his service on the board and his leadership, and recognizes the indelible mark he has left on Lubbock's municipally owned utility. Be it resolved by the Electrical Utility Board, the City of Lubbock, that we as a board and as a utility are better today because of Dan's service. Passed by the Electric Utility Board this 15th day of October, 2024.
Me? Well, I'll just say it's a pleasure to serve with all of y'all and everyone here. There's been Mayor Pope, Mayor Payne, and now Mayor McBrayer, losing sample there, but there's been 3 since then. A ton of EUB board members. It's been a pleasure to serve with all y'all currently, the previous and the past, and more importantly, the city council members that were here. You know, y'all can say thanks to me, but truly it was everyone here that did this. More importantly, the LP&L staff and the linemen that we just recognized, those are the folks who did all the heavy lifting and did the work. It's easy for us to come, call a meeting to order, make motions and second, and do those things, but they're the ones that are truly deserving. So a round of applause for the Lubbock Power and Light staff that's here right now. Y'all. There was, 2 directors, numerous general counsels, a few CFOs, and numerous staff, but I think there's over 200 employees, and they're the ones truly that we need to thank with this whole thing. So it's been a pleasure. I want to thank my staff back at the bank as well that allowed me to be out doing those things. And then the craziest thing is my daughter was 3, now she's 11, so
Yeah.
thanks to her. Wow. Yeah, think about that time go by. Yeah, and my hair was short, now it's curly. Anyways, thank you all, though. Thank you all. It's been fun.
I don't think it was ever black though, Dan.
Mayor Hope reminded me that the other day.
Here's your picture for your wife and your children.
They're gonna love this.
I know that was
Right above the mantle.
See how much younger we aged you a little bit.
So the staff wanted to vote you the best board member under 55, so we just want to know. Come on. Work with me.
That's true.
We had this memento, this lamp. We certainly appreciate the years and the tenure that you've put in, and as heard by the resolution, the things that have been accomplished while you've been on this board have been just unquestionably great. And we're still on a good path because of you and your efforts and those of the rest of the board, and so we're just so happy that we could have you serve and serve in such a distinguished manner. And so we certainly appreciate you, and hopefully we can still call on you like we always do for that one thing that happened back in 2016 that we can't remember or none of us were here for. But we have this memento, this lamp we want to give to you too.
I would just like to add, Dan, what Joel has said while Olivia gets the picture. You will go down in the history of LP&L as one of the finest chairmen. Your expertise, your knowledge, and all the time running a very successful growing bank. You have been an example for all of us of what board service is, and you have been an ambassador to Lubbock, for Lubbock in Austin. So what you have done is really immeasurable, but the imprint that you have left on all of our hearts is forever. So thank you for your service, Dan. You want a picture with everybody around Dan? Yeah.
I'm holding the trophy.
Hold your trophy. Hold your picture. Your lamp.
Where do you want us, in front of the podium, or?
You are in front of the podium. You should leave your hair off.
Things they break, so let me try this one more time. Fingers crossed. So there you go. I hope I didn't break it again.
I hope you didn't break it either. I don't think it's that one.
Please know that that resolution will be recorded in the minutes of this board meeting officially, Tom. So if you will be sure that that's in there. Number 12, we got Casey.
Yes, 1 second. Okay, I found it.
Good job. Well done. Well done.
So you got a haircut.
He got his butch now.
There we go. Okay. I will be going over our August 2024 financials. So starting with our cash, you can see we had an increase in cash of $8.1 million. If you look at our cash flows, we had a positive cash flow of $10.5 million. So that's going to be payments coming in for our end of June, beginning of July billing in there. So we did have higher usage around that time. In our cash for financing activities, we have negative cash flow of $3.3 million. That's going to be due to our CIP spending. And then in our cash flows from investing activities, we had a positive cash flow of a little over $1 million. That's going to be interest income, as well as we did have a small drawdown on bonds for July CIP expenses. You look at our liabilities, you can see an increase in our liabilities of $3.1 million. We did have an increase of $1.8 million in our payables, and that's due to some transformers that we had received. Payment was made in September, but they were received in August, so it wasn't having to do with our T costs or anything like that. And then our accrued interest payable is also the other factor in that. So overall, we had an increase in our total net position of $6.2 million from July to August. Moving on to our ratios, you can see that our days cash on hand increased from 165 to 176, and our operating ratio decreased from 0.83 to 0.803. I want to take just a minute to talk about this ratio because I don't think I've ever really discussed what it means. So what that means is we spend about 80 cents in expense for every dollar we earn in revenue. So the more the number that number decreases, the better. And you can also think of it in terms of our operating income. So that number decreased, our operating income's going up. So that's just a good way to look at that ratio. So last month it was 0.83, last year was 0.85. And I believe at the beginning of this year, it got up to 0.9. So trending in the right direction with those. Then our current ratio is about the same as it was last month at 2.63. Moving on to our income statement, you can see that we are over budget in our distribution revenue, as we did have some higher usages. T-cost revenue is slightly over budget just because of the billing matrix. And then our operating expenses the same. They're slightly over budget for our T-cost expenses because of the billing matrix. But overall, on our operating income, we had positive 8.7 for the month of August, and we're 41.5 for the year. So just to show you, we are at 92% in our distribution revenue. We should be about 84% for that line item, so we are coming in over budget. I did look at September, and we're going to come in right about our budget number for the month of September. In our T-cost revenue and our hold harmless, we're right about where we need to be, and then our operating expenses are coming under budget at 83%, and then our operating income is coming in at 95%. So with September coming in, we are going to definitely be at 100% of our budget for operating income. I'm guessing a little bit over. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions of Casey? Nope, looks like we're going in the right direction.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, this is just, I've got one last slide for here. So this is actually same, number nine, she just gave me the baton for the anchor on the relay here. So I wanted to show you just a quick thing on our credit history. So we've had 3 credit rating changes this year. And I wanted to show you, so they're each by category. First one is going to be Standard & Poor's rating and our history there going back about a little over just about 10 years. And Fitch rating in the middle, going back 10 years, and then Moody's going back 10 years. And so in June of this year, we were, as we went through this journey, and I think it's kind of something that Dan would really like to see. I don't got you there. It's like, but as we made this journey through the transition and invested $320 million in transmission assets, and there was significant borrowing that went on, so a lot went on through this utility. And during that time, it's going to drag your financial metrics as they get burdened by a significant amount of debt, even though a lot of that is supported, that debt service is supported by transmission cost of service revenue, it still does weigh on your financial metrics. So we did go through a period where we dropped on, for S&P, from AA minus, and we dropped down to a low of single A negative, and that's when we made our final borrowing in 2022 for our distribution assets for about $63 million. And now we've ended back up to, after we got through on the other side, Standard & Poor's wanted to reevaluate us after we made the entry into market. After they looked at our financials after moving into the market, they gave us a rating upgrade from single A developing, and even it was negative before that, to now A plus stable. And also for Fitch rating, you can see where it's been longer than 10 years since we've ever been at AA minus for Fitch ratings. And we went from A plus stable to A plus positive, and then this year, and just last month on September 30th, they gave us a AA minus stable. That's a significant upgrade. And it's significant once you move into a target. It's easy for a rating agency to drop you. They'll drop you fast, but they're very slow and reluctant to ever move you back up. So the fact that we're moving up and moving in the right direction is a significant achievement, because they don't just give those out. They're very reluctant to do that. So we've moved up to AA- territory for Fitch and Moody's. An AA2 is the equivalent of a AA- on a rating scale. You can see we've been down in the A territory for Moody's for at least 10 years, and actually going a little bit beyond that. We're at the highest rating for Fitch and Moody's than we've been in over 10 years. And what it demonstrates is, one, that we have done exactly for our rating agencies, the message has always been the same. We make a commitment that we're going to do something, and then when they come back and follow us the next year, we did exactly what we said we were going to do with the same financial results that you expected. And each year, as we would go through that process, they would just say, yeah, but you haven't made it there yet. So we'll talk then. So every year, it was this constant pattern of, for year after year, we say we're going to do something and we do it. We say we're going to do something, we do it. That message pounded home through all those through those rating agencies, that we are a utility that has stable performance and executes on very difficult plans like this, coming through and managing our financials very well. That is a testimony to the board that has been giving us the guidance to that. I just pick on you, Dan, because you've walked through this entire process, and especially coming from the banking industry, those aren't easy things to achieve. Operationally, it's massive. That's where the real work gets done. And the fact that the company managed its finances and its rates accordingly during that time is another testimony. So I just wanted to show you this for perspective. And Moody's just gave our ratings upgrade in July of this year. We could be up for something next year, but I'm not going to hold out hope for that. Just the fact that we're even here sets us on the path for our strategic objective for financial resiliency. And a key piece to that is strong financial metrics that are recognized by our rating agencies and paying down debt. So last Tuesday, the City Council went ahead and approved the prepayment, the redemption of our 2015 revenue bond for just about $7.7 million. And that's another step in a direction of paying down our debt, stronger credit ratings, and that's all part of financial resilience, which is part of our strategic plan. So I just wanted to kind of give that perspective. And then any questions on that? We're doing well. All right, thank you.
Good chart. That was very, very helpful.
Thank you.
Blair, you're back with us on number 13 on your key performance indicators.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So item number 13. Harvey, last month, if you remember, went over some of the financial key performance indicators. I'll go over some of the operational key indicators today. Clint will be with us in November to talk about some of the customer service indicators. So the things that I'm going to kind of highlight today and go over very quickly are related to our strategic plan 2023. Some of what Harvey just talked about in our financial goals are in there as well. Key performance indicators, 4 kV system, alley modernization, and I'm going to throw a training facility in there just for an FYI. So key performance indicators, the 3 that we pay attention to on the operations side are SAIDI, SAIFI, and CAIDI. You can see the formulas there. I'm going to give you an easier version.
That was Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Well, it is definitely strange. So SAIDI is the sum of all customer interruption durations in minutes. We track that in minutes versus the number of customers that we served. And we track that monthly. So if you'll look on page 50 of your book is where the KPIs are. And I'll give you just a second to be there. So the number of minutes versus the number of customers. Our goal is less than 60 for the year, which is about 5 a month. So your chart shows that the goal is 60. We're just under that at 55, 52.7. Sorry about that. SAFE, which is, and the other indicator of SAIDI is reliability. That's the key metric. SAIDI is a reliability metric that most of the utilities pay attention to. All the IOUs that you've heard Joel mention in the past that we compete against report to the PUC on that very metric. The next one that we pay attention to is SAFE, which is the frequency of the outages. The number of interruptions versus or over the total number of customers served. Very similar to SAIDI, but it shows you the frequency. With that, we like our goal to be less than 1. And if you can look at the chart, it is. It's less than, in most cases, 0.2. So your average customer has a 0.2 frequency in outages per year. The third indication is a CAIDI. It's the average time to restore. And if you'll look at the chart, our goal is 60. Sometimes we're above it, sometimes we're right at it. So there is room for improvement with CAIDI. Any questions before I move on to the next topic?
So Blair, is the goal to be where the orange is on each of those?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And Blair, these first 2 charts, they're cumulative as you go through the month, right?
Correct. There's one mistake on SAIDI. We should have started at 0 and gone to 60 throughout the 12 months. And I have that here, but I didn't get it into the book in time before Joel noticed the mistake. So that's the goal line, yes.
Will you be sure that in the minutes we've got the correct one added to it, Tom? And so we've got the one that Blair's got. Thank you.
Next topic I want to briefly hit on is the 4 kV system conversion. We've got 6 substations that are involved that are part of the 4 kV system. Our 4 kV system feeds off of the 23 kV system. So the 23,000 volt system is a feeder for the 4 kV. We've estimated, engineering has gone through a process to help determine how long it'll take and how many designs or work orders or jobs that we need to design. 317 separate jobs over the next 7 years to complete. You know, the first portion, the first 2 years, we're just now into the beginning phase of year 2. We have new appropriated money allocated in our CIP program. Engineering has finished 48 designs. We've procured transformers for those 48 designs. Construction has not started at this point, but it will very soon. We are, like I said, we're in year 2 of the program with approximately $3 million appropriated for 23-24 and 24-25. Total number of alleys involved is 836. Now, what we considered, and you'll see in the next alley modernization, what we considered an alley is 1 block, 1 alley. You know, 836 alleys are part of the 4 kV system. The next topic, this kind of shoes us right into, is alley modernization. It's 1 alley, 1 block. The number of alleys within the LP&L service territory is 4,909. So 17% of the alleys that we'll be working on over the next 6 to 7 years are part of the 4 kV system.
Blair, if you wanted to speed this up, this is all done within LPNL. If there was an ability to speed it up, you'd have to contract that out. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Next topic, just very quickly, the LPL training facility. There was a question by our board chair here not too long ago about this. It's located at the southeast corner of Indiana and the Clovis Highway. You'll see in that picture, the top left-hand corner, that is what is known as Indiana Substation. We have the building and the classroom, break rooms, break areas designed. That facility is designed. The RFP to construct the building is in its signature process at this point. There'll be classrooms there. We can bring schools to the facility, demonstrate what linemen do, some of the processes that we go through. We'll have training classes for the linemen themselves. So we are advancing as a utility. Any questions?
Blair, is this going to be similar to like the fire training?
Not quite as advanced.
Okay.
Correct, yes. There'll be a facility there that the linemen, LPNL as a whole could use to have a training class, yes.
Okay, I'm thinking like your journeyman and your
Yes,
apprentice.
absolutely.
Okay,
This is where they go to climb, to practice climbing, to work on transformers, to string wire. We've got, distribution facilities there. We've built in some transmission facilities. There's actually you speak of fire, there's a tower in the bottom right-hand corner of that facility that fire comes to use to train on tower rescue or radio tower rescue. So it's not only used by LPNL, but it'll be used with other organizations.
Blair, do you recall the size of the classroom building?
The classroom
foot?
itself is a 36 by 30, I believe.
Within a larger building?
Yes,
What's the
yes, sir.
building size? Do you recall?
I do not.
Just want to get a sense of scale on this.
I can find that out.
Blair, have the linemen had input on this? Do you have, when the drawings and everything is made, have you got your linemen reviewing it and giving input?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Actually, there's a lineman in charge of this. His name's Cody Morris.
Blair, is this facility going to be accessible to all LPNL? Or
Yes.
just for distribution?
No, it'll be accessible to all LPNL.
Okay.
That other part is just grass that we're looking at? That's just vacant
Yes.
lot?
Yes. They actually took it upon themselves last year to spend a little bit of the program money to put sprinklers in because it keeps down on the dust and makes the neighborhood look a little better.
Are we thinking about further use of that land for something else? Is that a long-range plan? No?
No.
Okay.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Blair. Number 14 is at Felix, who has all the keys to the pickup, right?
Good afternoon, everybody. So we're here for this approval for RFP 7109-24-CLD. This is for annual pricing for flame retardant uniforms. This will be used by our T&D group, our transmission and distribution departments. We did receive 4 proposals on this. After evaluations, Gelco Uniforms and Shoes, Inc. of Tulsa, Oklahoma was selected as the highest offer, and we do recommend award to that company. And open to any questions.
Is the life of the uniform about a year?
The life itself.
Is about a year, so we issue these to our linemen?
So our linemen do get issued yearly allowance for for uniforms.
Okay, so they get a new one every year,
Yes, ma'am.
and they keep the old one, I assume.
Yes, until
Okay.
it's no longer can be used on service.
Some of them are worn out, but they can keep those. And is that an annual date they get it, or is it a scattered various dates for each person?
It is an annual date from hire, so if we get a new employee, whatever that annual date starts for them.
Okay, so it's
It'll be
per
issued.
employee, an annual date per employee.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the bid, and it's around, the annual pricing is, last year was around 100,000, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So
Is there a motion to that effect? Mr. Wilson makes the motion, Dr. Ramirez seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries 9-0.
thank you. so
Thank you,
much.
Felix. If there's nothing further to become from the board, 1:06, we're now adjourned. And Dan, thank you again for your years of service and your leadership. We'll be calling on you a bunch still.